Lee Taman wiped the sweat from his forehead as he worked on the ship's main engine. The new Sol was a good ship, but she needed constant care to keep running smoothly in deep space. As the chief engineer, Taman took pride in keeping everything working perfectly. The exploration vessel had been traveling for 3 months now, mapping new star systems at the edge of human space. It was quiet work, but Taman enjoyed the peace. He had seen enough fighting during his time in the military. Now he just wanted to build things instead of destroying them. "Taman, you need to see this," called Kim Do-hyun from the doorway. His best friend looked excited about something. Taman set down his tools and followed Do-hyun to the communications room. His sister Park Ji-won was sitting at her station, wearing headphones and frowning at her screen. "What's wrong?" Taman asked. "We're picking up a distress signal," Ji-won said. "But it's not human. The language is completely unknown, and the signal pattern is unlike anything we've ever seen." Captain Martinez appeared behind them. "I've already made the decision," he said firmly. "We're not responding. Our mission is to map systems, not get involved with unknown aliens. It could be dangerous." Taman looked at the screen showing the signal's location. It was close, maybe 2 hours away at full speed. "But Captain, if someone is in trouble, no discussion. Engineer Lee, we continue on our planned route." The captain walked away, ending the conversation. But Taman couldn't stop thinking about the signal. Someone out there needed help and they were ignoring it. He had joined the exploration service to help humanity reach for the stars, not to turn away when others needed assistance. That evening, Taman found Do-hyun in the shuttle bay, checking the small rescue craft they carried. "You're thinking the same thing I am," Do-hyun said without looking up. "We can't just leave them," Taman replied. "What if it was us sending that signal?" Do-hyun nodded. "The shuttle has enough fuel to reach the signal and get back. But if the captain finds out, he'll be angry, but he can't court-martial us for saving lives." Taman hoped that was true. They launched the shuttle quietly, while most of the crew slept. Ji-won had slipped them the exact coordinates of the distress signal. She couldn't come with them because someone needed to cover their absence from the main ship. As they flew through space, Taman wondered what they would find. Humans had been exploring space for 50 years, but had never met another intelligent species. Today might change everything. "There," Do-hyun pointed ahead. "I see something." A large ship drifted in space, clearly damaged. Parts of its hull were torn open, and it wasn't moving under its own power. Worse, there were 3 smaller ships circling it like sharks around wounded prey. "Pirates," Do-hyun said. "They're attacking whoever sent the distress signal." The pirate ships noticed their shuttle and turned toward them. Do-hyun was a skilled pilot, but their little rescue craft had no weapons. He twisted and dodged as energy blasts flew past them. "Can you get us to that big ship?" Taman asked. "Maybe, but those pirates will follow us." "Do it anyway. Someone on that ship needs help." Do-hyun flew straight at the damaged vessel, using its bulk to shield them from the pirates. They found a hole in the hull big enough for their shuttle to slip inside. The ship's interior was dark and filled with smoke. Emergency lights blinked weakly, and Taman could hear the sound of failing life support systems. He grabbed an emergency kit and a portable air supply. "Stay with the shuttle," he told Do-hyun. "Keep the engines warm. We might need to leave quickly." Taman made his way through the alien ship. Everything was built for beings roughly human-sized, but the architecture was different. The walls curved in flowing patterns and the doors were oval instead of rectangular. He followed the sound of sparking electronics toward what seemed to be the bridge. The air was getting thinner and his portable supply wouldn't last long. In a large room filled with strange control panels, Taman found her. The alien was trapped under a heavy piece of fallen ceiling. She appeared to be female, roughly human in shape but with pale blue skin and long silver hair. She wore what looked like formal robes, now torn and dirty. Her eyes were closed and she was barely breathing. Taman checked for injuries. Her leg was trapped, but it didn't seem broken. The real problem was the ship's failing life support. They had maybe 10 minutes before the air became unbreathable. He used a metal beam as a lever to lift the debris. The alien's eyes opened and she stared at him in shock. Her eyes were large and dark purple, completely unlike human eyes. "I'm here to help," Taman said, though he knew she couldn't understand him. She spoke in a musical language he had never heard. Her voice was weak, but she seemed to be trying to warn him about something. Taman managed to free her leg and helped her stand. She was taller than him and very light, as if her bones were hollow like a bird's. Together they made their way back toward the shuttle. Behind them, Taman heard a deep rumbling sound. The ship's reactor was becoming unstable. He knew the signs from his engineering training. They had maybe 5 minutes before the whole ship exploded. The alien woman stumbled and Taman caught her. She pointed to a wall panel and spoke urgently. When he looked, he saw display screens showing other life signs on the ship. More survivors? He asked. She nodded and pointed in different directions. But Taman knew they couldn't save everyone. The reactor was failing too fast. He made a hard choice. Using his engineering knowledge, he rerouted power from the failing reactor to the ship's escape pod systems. It would drain the reactor faster, but it would give any other survivors a chance to reach the pods and get away. The alien woman watched him work and seemed to understand what he was doing. She touched his shoulder and spoke softly as if thanking him. They reached the shuttle just as the ship began shaking violently. Do-hyun had the engines ready, and they blasted out of the hull seconds before the entire vessel exploded in a brilliant flash. The explosion destroyed the pirate ships too, caught too close when the reactor went critical. Taman felt bad about that, but they had brought it on themselves by attacking innocent people. In the shuttle, the alien woman had collapsed again. Taman checked her vital signs with his medical scanner. She was alive but weak. Whatever her species needed to breathe, Earth's air wasn't quite right for her. "We need to get back to the new Sol fast," he told Do-hyun. "She needs proper medical care." As they flew back to their ship, Taman looked at the unconscious alien. He had risked his career and possibly his life to save her. He hoped it would be worth it. Behind them, escape pods from the destroyed ship drifted in space, their occupants safe thanks to his quick thinking. Taman had saved not just one life today, but many. He didn't know it yet, but his act of courage would change the course of human history forever. Taman woke up in the medical bay feeling like he had been hit by a truck. His head pounded and his skin felt strange, almost tingly. The ship's doctor, Dr. Kim, was checking readings on a medical scanner. "How long was I out?" Taman asked. 3 days, Dr. Kim replied. "You absorbed a lot of radiation when that alien ship's reactor exploded. You're lucky to be alive." Taman sat up slowly, and that's when he saw her. The alien woman was sitting in a chair next to his bed. Her blue skin looked healthier now, and her purple eyes were watching him with interest. "She hasn't left your side since we brought you both aboard," Dr. Kim said. "We set up a translator device so she can communicate with us." The alien woman pressed a button on a small device clipped to her robes. When she spoke, a mechanical voice translated her words into Korean. "I am Princess Kaylin of the Valthran Empire," the device said in her place. "You saved my life, Lee Taman. In doing so, you have prevented a war that would have cost millions of lives." Taman stared at her. "Princess? And war?" Kaylin nodded sadly. "The pirates who attacked my ship work for the Korthak Syndicate. If I had died, my mother would have blamed them and declared war on their allied worlds. Entire planets would have burned for revenge. I just did what anyone would do," Taman said. The translator device made a strange sound, and Kaylin looked confused. She spoke again, and the device said, "The translation system cannot find equivalent concepts. Your actions are unusual by our standards." Dr. Kim cleared his throat. "Speaking of unusual, we have a problem. Captain Martinez has been trying to contact Earth Command about our situation, but we're being visited." Through the medical bay's small window, Taman could see massive shapes moving outside the ship. When his eyes adjusted, he realized they were looking at alien vessels. Dozens of them, each one bigger than the new Sol. "My mother's fleet," Kaylin explained. "When my ship was destroyed, my guards in the escape pod sent a distress call. Queen Vayana came with her full battle group to rescue me." Captain Martinez entered the medical bay looking very stressed. Behind him walked a man in a diplomatic uniform that Taman recognized. "This is Choi Min-hyuk from the Earth Diplomatic Corps," the captain said. "He arrived on a fast courier ship an hour ago." Min-hyuk looked at Taman with a mixture of respect and worry. "Engineer Lee, your actions have created the first official contact between humanity and an alien species. The whole galaxy is watching what happens next." "No pressure," Taman muttered. Princess Kaylin stood up and spoke into her translator. "Queen Vayana wishes to meet the human who saved her daughter. She has requested that Lee Taman come to our homeworld as an honored guest." Min-hyuk frowned. "We need to discuss this carefully. In diplomatic situations like this, every word and action has consequences. What kind of consequences? Taman asked. According to the information Princess Kaelin has shared, the Velthran Empire is ancient and powerful. They control dozens of star systems and have technology far beyond ours. How they view humanity will depend largely on how they view you. Taman's sister, Jiwan, entered the medical bay, carrying a data pad. She looked worried. I've been monitoring communications between the alien ships, she said. I don't understand their language, but I've been analyzing the signal patterns. There's a lot of chatter, and some of it seems intense. Kaelin listened to something through a small earpiece, then spoke to her translator. My mother's advisors are debating among themselves. Some see your rescue of me as proof that humans are honorable. Others believe you acted without thinking, which they consider dangerous. What do you think? Taman asked her directly. Kaelin paused before answering. I think you did something my people have forgotten how to do. You acted quickly to save a stranger without worrying about the cost to yourself. We have become too careful, too slow to make decisions. Minhyuk was taking notes. Princess, can you tell us more about this invitation? What would be expected of Engineer Lee if he accepted? In our culture, when someone saves the life of a royal family member, they create what we call a bond of honor. The person who performed the rescue has the right to ask for almost anything as a reward. But they also have obligations. What kind of obligations? Taman asked. That depends on what Queen Vayana decides is appropriate, but I can tell you that no one who has earned such a bond has ever been forgotten by our people. Captain Martinez looked uncomfortable. Engineer Lee, I have to advise against this. We know nothing about these aliens or their intentions. It could be a trap. With respect, Captain, Kaelin said through her translator. If we wanted to harm your ship, we would have done so already. My mother's fleet could destroy this vessel in seconds. That was not reassuring to anyone. Jiwan pulled Taman aside. Brother, I've been reading everything I can about first contact protocols. Usually, when a more advanced civilization meets a less advanced one, it doesn't go well for the less advanced one. But they seem friendly, Taman said, so far. But we don't understand their culture or their real motivations. What if this bond of honor thing means you become their property somehow? Minhyuk overheard them. Your sister raises valid concerns. In diplomatic terms, you would be going into a situation where you don't understand the rules of the game. Taman looked at Princess Kaelin, who was pretending not to listen to their conversation. Despite the language barrier and the strange situation, he felt that she was genuinely grateful for his help. But gratitude and safety were two different things. Princess, he said, can you tell me honestly what you think will happen if I come to your homeworld? Kaelin considered this carefully before responding. I believe my mother wants to understand what kind of people humans are. Your actions surprised us. In our long history, we have rarely encountered beings who would risk everything for strangers. And if she doesn't like what she finds, then humanity will have made a powerful enemy, Kaelin said quietly. But if she does like what she finds, you will have made an even more powerful friend. The room fell silent. Everyone understood that Taman's decision could affect the future relationship between humanity and the Velthran Empire. Dr. Kim checked his readings again. Medically, you're fit to travel, but I still don't like this. Captain Martinez added, I can't order you to go and I can't order you to stay. This decision is beyond my authority. Minhyuk sighed. If you do decide to go, I'll come with you as Earth's official representative. We'll need to establish formal diplomatic protocols. Taman thought about his options. He could stay safe aboard the New Soul and let diplomats handle everything. Or he could take a risk and try to build a bridge between two civilizations. He looked at his sister. Jiwan, if something happens to me, nothing will happen to you, she interrupted. Because I'm coming too. Someone needs to handle communications, and I speak more languages than anyone else on this ship. Taman smiled. Family sticks together? Always, he turned to Princess Kaelin. Tell your mother I accept her invitation, but I want to bring my sister and diplomat Choi with me. Kaelin smiled for the first time since he had met her. It was a beautiful smile that made her alien features seem warm and familiar. I will tell her immediately, she said. I think you will like our homeworld, Lee Taman, and I hope our people will learn to understand yours. As she left to contact her mother's ship, Taman wondered what he had just gotten himself into, but he had made his choice and now he would face whatever came next. Outside the window, the alien fleet began moving into formation around the New Soul. Humanity's first journey to an alien world was about to begin. The first thing Taman noticed about Valthra Prime was how beautiful it was. As their shuttle descended through the atmosphere, he saw crystal towers reaching toward the clouds and cities that seemed to float in the air without any visible support. "How is that possible?" Jiwan whispered, staring out the window. Princess Kaylin, sitting across from them, smiled at their amazement. "Gravity manipulation technology. We learned to control it thousands of years ago." Diplomat Choi Minyuk was taking notes frantically. "The technological implications are staggering. If they're willing to share even basic principles, let's focus on not causing an incident first," Taman said quietly. "Technology sharing can come later." Their shuttle landed on a platform high above the main city. The air outside was clean and smelled like flowers Taman had never encountered. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's, making each step feel bouncy. A group of aliens waited for them at the landing platform. They all looked similar to Princess Kaylin, with blue-tinted skin and silver hair, but their clothes were more elaborate. One of them, a tall female with intricate robes and a crown-like headpiece, stepped forward. "My mother, Queen Vayana," Kaylin said through her translator. The Queen spoke, and her translator device produced a voice that sounded older and more formal than her daughter's. "Welcome to Valthra Prime, Lee Taman of Earth. Your courage has earned you a place of honor among our people." Taman bowed, hoping it was the right gesture. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I'm honored to be here." Queen Vayana studied him carefully with her purple eyes. "You are smaller than I expected. And younger. How is it that one so young would risk his life for a stranger?" "I couldn't just leave someone to die," Taman replied. "It wouldn't have been right." The Queen exchanged glances with her advisors. One of them, a stern-looking male with military bearings, stepped forward. "I am General Thexer," his translator announced. "I find it hard to believe that your species values individual lives over collective safety. Such behavior seems primitive." Taman felt his temper rise, but Minyuk placed a warning hand on his arm. This was exactly the kind of situation that could go wrong quickly. "General," Queen Vayana said firmly, "our guest has just arrived. There will be time for questions later." They were escorted through the palace, which was even more impressive inside than outside. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that glowed softly with its own light. Gardens grew in impossible places, with plants that floated in midair and flowers that changed colors as they walked past. "Your people must be very advanced," Jiwan said, her communications officer training making her curious about everything she saw. "We have had a long time to develop our civilization," Queen Vayana replied. "Perhaps too long. Comfort can make a people soft." They were given rooms in what Kaylin called the guest wing of the palace. Each room was larger than Taman's entire apartment back on Earth, with windows that showed views of the floating city below. "Tomorrow, you will be formally presented to the Royal Council," Kaylin explained. "Tonight you should rest and recover from your journey." But Taman couldn't sleep. He stood by his window looking out at the alien city, wondering what he had gotten himself and his companions into. A soft knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Princess Kaylin entered, now wearing simpler clothes than her formal robes. "I thought you might be having trouble sleeping," she said. "New worlds can be overwhelming." "It's beautiful," Taman said honestly. "But I feel like everyone is watching me, waiting to see what I'll do wrong." Kaylin joined him at the window. "They are watching you. My people have forgotten how to be surprised. We have lived safely for so long that we have become predictable even to ourselves." "Is that bad?" "I think so. When my ship was attacked, my guards followed protocol. They sent for help and waited for rescue. You didn't wait. You acted immediately without thinking about rules or procedures." Taman laughed. "My captain was very angry about that. But it was the right thing to do. Sometimes the right action is not the safe action." They talked for hours about their different worlds and cultures. Taman learned that the Velthran Empire had been peaceful for over 1,000 years, but that peace had come at a cost. Their people had become careful to the point of inaction. "We debate everything for months before making decisions," Kaylin explained. "By the time we act, opportunities are often lost." "But you've built this incredible civilization," Taman pointed out. "Yes, but we've stopped growing. We maintain what we have, but we rarely create anything new. Some of our philosophers believe we are dying as a culture." The next morning, Taman was awakened by servants who helped him dress in formal clothes that had been specially made for his human proportions. Jiwan and Minyuk received similar treatment. The presentation to the Royal Council took place in a vast circular hall with a domed ceiling that showed the stars in real time. Dozens of Vilethron nobles sat in floating chairs arranged in ascending circles around a central platform. Queen Vayana sat on a throne that seemed to be carved from a single massive crystal. General Thexor stood beside her, along with other military advisors. "Members of the council," the queen announced, "I present Lee Taman of Earth, who saved the life of Princess Kaelin and prevented a war with the Korthak Syndicate." Murmurs rippled through the assembled nobles. Taman noticed that some seemed impressed, while others looked skeptical or even hostile. An elderly Valthran stood up. "Your Majesty, while we are grateful for this human's intervention, we must ask, what does this mean for our relationship with his species?" "An excellent question, Counselor Nixara," the Queen replied. "That is precisely what we are here to determine." General Thexor stepped forward. "I have studied the reports of this incident. The human acted without authorization from his superiors, violated direct orders, and put himself and his companion in extreme danger. These are not the actions of a disciplined, reliable people." Taman felt his face heat up, but Minyuk whispered, "Let him finish. Don't respond emotionally." "Furthermore," Thexor continued, "humans are a young species with a history of violence. They have spent most of their short existence fighting wars among themselves. How can we trust beings who solve problems through conflict?" Queen Vayana looked at Taman. "Do you wish to respond to these concerns?" Taman took a deep breath. This was his chance to speak for all of humanity. "General Thexor is right about some things," he said. "Humans do make quick decisions, sometimes without thinking about all the consequences. And yes, we have fought wars, but we've also learned from our mistakes." He looked around the circle of alien faces. "When I saw that distress signal, I had a choice. I could follow orders and ignore it, or I could try to help. Maybe that was reckless, but someone was dying. I couldn't live with myself if I had done nothing." "And what if your reckless action had started the very war you claim to have prevented?" Thexor demanded. "Then I would have taken responsibility for that mistake. But doing nothing would have guaranteed that Princess Kaelin died. At least by acting, I gave her a chance to live." Counselor Nixara spoke again. "This raises an interesting philosophical question. Is it better to act and risk making things worse, or to avoid action and accept certain harm? We have always chosen caution," another council member said. "It has served us well, has it?" Princess Kaelin stood up from her seat among the nobles. "Father, when was the last time our people achieved something truly great? When did we last explore new worlds, create new art, or solve an impossible problem?" "Daughter," Queen Vayana said gently, "this is not the time for—" "It is exactly the time, Mother. Lee Taman showed me that sometimes we must risk everything to achieve anything. Our people have become so afraid of failure that we have forgotten how to succeed." The hall erupted in discussion as nobles debated among themselves. Taman watched the chaos with fascination. He had expected alien politics to be completely different from human politics, but apparently arguing was universal. Queen Vayana raised her hand, and the hall fell silent. "These are weighty matters that require careful consideration. Lee Taman, you and your companions will remain as our guests while the council deliberates." As they left the hall, General Thexor approached Taman. "You speak well, human, but words are easy. Actions reveal true character. We shall see what kind of being you really are." It sounded like a threat, but Taman met his gaze steadily. "I look forward to showing you, General." That evening, Princess Kaelin found Taman in the palace gardens. "The council will debate for days," she said, "but my mother has already made her decision." "What decision?" Kaelin smiled mysteriously. "You will find out soon enough, but I think you should prepare yourself for something unexpected." As they walked among the floating flowers and crystal trees, Taman wondered what new challenges awaited him. He had come to this world as a simple engineer, but he was beginning to suspect that his role here would be much more complicated than he had imagined. 3 days after the council meeting, Queen Vayana summoned Taman to her private chambers. The room was smaller than the grand hall, but no less impressive, with walls that showed real-time images of different parts of the Velthran Empire. "Lee Taman," the Queen said, "I have made a decision about your future and the future of human-Velthran relations." Taman felt his stomach tighten. "What kind of decision, Your Majesty?" I wish to offer you something that has never been offered to an alien before: full citizenship in our empire and a formal position in the royal household. Taman stared at her in shock. I don't understand. Queen Vayana smiled. Your actions have impressed many of our people. You represent qualities that we value, but have perhaps lost ourselves. However, such an honor cannot be granted lightly. What do you mean? You must undergo the trials of Cathara. These tests have been used for thousands of years to determine if someone is worthy of high position in our society. Many Velthrons have failed them. Princess Kaelin, who had been standing quietly nearby, looked worried. Mother, no alien has ever attempted the trials. We don't know if his physiology can handle them. That is precisely why they must be attempted, the Queen replied. If Lee Taman can pass these trials, it will prove that humans possess the qualities we need in our society. And if I fail? Taman asked. Then you will return to Earth with our gratitude, but nothing more. The choice is yours. Taman thought about his options. He could refuse and go home safely, or he could risk everything for a chance to build a bridge between two civilizations. What do these trials involve? General Thexor stepped forward from the shadows. 3 tests, human. The trial of wisdom, the trial of courage, and the trial of sacrifice. Each one is designed to reveal your true character. I accept, Taman said without hesitation. Kaelin looked alarmed. Taman, you should think about this more carefully. No, he said firmly. If this is what it takes to prove that humans can be trusted partners, then I'll do it. Queen Vayana nodded approvingly. The trials begin tomorrow. Tonight, you may prepare however you wish. That evening, Taman sat with Jiwan and Minyuk in his quarters, explaining what he had agreed to do. Brother, this is insane, Jiwan said. You don't even know what these tests involve. Sometimes you have to take risks, Taman replied. If I succeed, it could mean everything for humanity's future. Minhyuk looked troubled. And if you fail, it could close the door forever. No pressure. Princess Kaelin visited him late that night. I brought you something, she said, handing him a small crystal pendant. It's a traditional good luck charm. Many Velthrons carry them during difficult times. Thank you, Taman said, putting the chain around his neck. Can you tell me anything about what I'll face tomorrow? The trials are different for each person, Kaelin explained. They adapt to test your specific weaknesses and strengths. But I can tell you this. The first trial will challenge your mind, the second your body, and the third your heart. The next morning, Taman was led to an ancient building at the center of the capital city. The structure looked much older than the rest of the modern architecture, with walls covered in symbols and carvings. Inside, hundreds of Velthrons had gathered to watch. Taman saw Queen Vayana and the Royal Council in a viewing area high above the main floor. The trial of wisdom begins, announced an elderly Velthron wearing ceremonial robes. The candidate will be presented with 3 puzzles that have challenged our greatest minds for generations. A large screen descended from the ceiling, showing a complex geometric pattern with missing pieces. Below it, dozens of possible pieces were displayed. Complete the pattern, the announcer said. You have 1 hour. Taman studied the design carefully. It reminded him of the engineering problems he had solved on Earth, but far more complex. The pattern seemed to follow mathematical principles, but also something else. After 30 minutes, he still hadn't found the solution. The Velthron observers were murmuring among themselves, and he could sense their doubt. Then he had an idea. What if the pattern wasn't just mathematical? What if it incorporated artistic or cultural elements that only Velthrons would naturally understand? He stopped trying to solve it like an engineering problem and started thinking about what he had learned of Velthron culture. Their love of flowing lines, their preference for curves over angles, their deep connection to nature. Suddenly he saw it. The pattern wasn't just geometric. It was organic, like the growth pattern of the floating plants in the palace gardens. Once he understood that, the missing pieces became obvious. He completed the first puzzle with minutes to spare. The second and third puzzles followed similar principles. Each one required him to think beyond human logic and consider Velthron perspectives. The trial of wisdom is complete, the announcer declared. The candidate has succeeded. Cheers erupted from some sections of the viewing area, while others remained silent. The trial of courage will now begin. The floor of the chamber opened, revealing a large arena below. Taman was led down into the space, which was surrounded by energy barriers to protect the spectators. A gate on the far side of the arena opened, and something massive emerged. The creature looked like a cross between a lion and a dragon, with 6 legs, scales instead of fur, and eyes that glowed red in the dim light. It was easily 3 times Taemin's size and looked very hungry. "Defeat or subdue the Cathera beast," the announcer said. "You may use any tools or weapons you can find in the arena." Taemin looked around desperately. There were various weapons scattered around the arena floor, but he knew he couldn't match the creature's strength or speed in direct combat. The beast charged at him, and Taemin dove behind a large metal barrier. As the creature crashed into it, he noticed something interesting. The beast was intelligent, but it was also following predictable patterns. Instead of trying to fight it, Taemin began to observe its behavior. The creature was territorial, always returning to certain spots in the arena. It was also cautious about certain areas, avoiding anything that looked like it might be a trap. Using his engineering knowledge, Taemin began to set up a series of simple machines using the materials in the arena. Pulleys, levers, and counterweights that would work together to create a cage. It took careful timing and several close calls, but eventually he managed to lure the beast into position and trigger his improvised trap. The creature found itself caged, unharmed but unable to reach him. "The trial of courage is complete," the announcer said, and the beast was safely removed from the arena. The final trial will now begin. Taemin was brought to a smaller chamber with a single chair and a large view screen. Queen Vayana appeared on the screen, looking very serious. "Lee Taemin," she said, "you have passed the first 2 trials admirably. Now comes the most difficult test of all." The screen changed to show images of Earth. Taemin saw his home planet, his family, and everything he had left behind. "I offer you a choice," the Queen continued. "Accept permanent citizenship in our empire, and we will share our most advanced technology with humanity. Your people will have access to faster-than-light travel, unlimited energy, and medical advances that will eliminate disease and extend human life for centuries." Taemin's breath caught. It was everything humanity had ever dreamed of. However, the Queen continued, "To ensure the security of this technology, you must agree never to return to Earth. You will live here as one of us, but you will never see your homeworld again." The chamber fell silent except for the sound of Taemin's own heartbeat. "Alternatively," the Queen said, "you may refuse this offer. You and your companions will return to Earth with our friendship and a basic trade agreement, but nothing more. Humanity will develop at its own pace and we will have limited contact." Taemin stared at the images of Earth on the screen. Everything he had ever known was there. His friends, his life, his entire identity as a human being. But if he stayed, he could give his species a future beyond their wildest dreams. He thought about what Princess Kaelin had said about sacrifice, about doing what was right even when it cost everything. "I choose," Taemin began, then stopped. There was a third option that the Queen hadn't mentioned, but that he could see clearly. "Your Majesty," he said, "I think you're asking the wrong question." In the viewing area above, Queen Vayana raised an eyebrow. "Explain. You're asking me to choose between my people and yours. But the real question is, how can both our peoples benefit from this relationship without anyone having to sacrifice their identity?" "Continue," the Queen said, her voice neutral. "I propose something different. Instead of keeping your technology secret by isolating me, why not create a formal alliance? Send teachers to Earth and accept human students here. Let both our peoples learn from each other gradually, safely." "That would take much longer," General Thexor interjected from somewhere off-screen. "Good things usually do," Taemin replied, "but it would be stronger and more lasting than any agreement based on keeping secrets or forcing individuals to abandon their homes." The viewing screen went dark, and Taemin waited alone in the chamber for what felt like hours. Finally, the door opened, and Princess Kaelin entered with a broad smile on her face. "Congratulations," she said. "You just passed the real test." "What do you mean?" "The trial of sacrifice was never about choosing between rewards. It was..." The celebration feast that followed Taemin's success in the trials was unlike anything he had ever experienced. The Great Hall was filled with floating tables that served foods from across the Velthran Empire, and the air sparkled with tiny lights that danced to the rhythm of alien music. Taemin sat at the high table next to Queen Vayana, Still wearing the simple clothes he had worn during the trials, he felt out of place among the elaborately dressed Valthran nobles. But everyone seemed genuinely happy to celebrate his achievement. "You have surprised us again, Lee Taman," the Queen said as she raised her glass in a toast, "to the first alien citizen of our empire and to the new alliance between our peoples." The crowd cheered and Taman smiled, but he noticed that General Thexor and some of his supporters remained silent. Not everyone was pleased with these developments. As the evening continued, Taman found himself in conversation with various Valthran nobles who were curious about human culture. He answered their questions as best he could, with Jiwon and Minhyuk helping to provide context about Earth's history and society. "Tell me," asked Counselor Nixara, "how does your species handle disagreements between different groups?" "Usually through debate and voting," Taman replied. "Sometimes it gets heated, but we try to find solutions that most people can accept. And if some groups refuse to accept the majority decision," Taman thought carefully, "then we try to understand why they're unhappy and find compromises. It doesn't always work, but it's better than forcing people to do things they strongly oppose." Several Velthrons exchanged meaningful glances at this answer, though Taman wasn't sure why. Late in the evening, as the celebration was winding down, Queen Vayana asked Taman to join her in a private meeting room. Princess Kaelin and several senior advisors were already waiting there. "Now that the formal ceremonies are complete," the Queen said, "we need to discuss the details of this new alliance." "I'm ready to begin working as an ambassador immediately," Taman said. "When do we start?" Queen Vayana smiled, but there was something calculating in her expression. "Actually, I have a different proposal, something that would create an even stronger bond between our peoples." "What kind of proposal?" "Marriage." Taman nearly choked on his drink. "I'm sorry, what?" "I want you to marry my daughter and become the next ruler of the Valthran Empire." The room fell completely silent. Princess Kaelin looked as shocked as Taman felt. "Mother," Kaelin said quietly, "we never discussed this." "Because I knew you would object," the Queen replied calmly. "But it is the logical solution to several problems." Taman found his voice. "Your Majesty, I'm honored, but I don't understand how this would help anyone." Queen Vayana stood and began pacing around the room. "Our bloodline has ruled this empire for 3,000 years, but we have grown weak through genetic stagnation. Our people have lost the ability to take risks, to innovate, to grow. We need new blood, new perspectives." "But marriage should be about love, not politics," Taman protested. "Should it?" the Queen asked. "Royal marriages have always been about more than personal feelings. They create alliances, secure peace, and ensure the continuation of dynasties." Princess Kaelin stood up abruptly. "Mother, this is wrong. You cannot force someone into marriage for political reasons." "I am not forcing anything," Queen Vayana said. "I am offering Lee Taman the chance to unite our species permanently. Think of what could be accomplished with human creativity guided by Valthran wisdom and resources." General Thexor, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "Your Majesty, this proposal is madness. To place an alien on the imperial throne would be an insult to our ancestors and our traditions. Our traditions have led us to stagnation, General. Perhaps it is time for new traditions." "Never." Thexor stood up, his face flushed with anger. "I will not stand by and watch this empire corrupted by alien influence." The argument that followed was heated and conducted partly in the Valthran language, which Taman's translator couldn't keep up with. But he understood enough to realize that the Queen's proposal had created a serious political crisis. Finally, Queen Vayana called for silence. "General Thexor, your objections are noted. However, I am still the ruler of this empire. For now," Thexor said ominously, and left the room. After he was gone, the Queen turned back to Taman. "You see the situation we face. There are those who oppose any significant change to our society. Your marriage to Kaelin would make such opposition irrelevant." "By making me your heir?" Taman asked. "By making your children our heirs. Human Valthran hybrids who combine the best qualities of both species." Taman looked at Princess Kaelin, who seemed deeply uncomfortable with the whole conversation. "And what does the princess think about this plan?" Kaelin met his eyes. "I think my mother is scared," she said quietly. "Scared that our people are dying slowly, and that this might be our last chance to survive as a civilization." "But what do you want?" Taman asked. Before Kalen could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the palace. A communications officer rushed into the room. "Your Majesty, General Thexor has taken control of the military garrison. He's declaring the marriage proposal an act of treason and demanding your abdication." Queen Vayana closed her eyes briefly. "So it begins. I had hoped he would accept the inevitable. What does this mean?" Minyuk asked. "It means civil war," Kalen said grimly. "Thexor has supporters who believe that alien influence will destroy our culture. They would rather see the empire torn apart than see it change." More reports came in quickly. Military units across the planet were choosing sides. Some remained loyal to the Queen, while others joined Thexor's rebellion. The capital city was in chaos as different factions took control of various districts. "We need to get you to safety," one of the Queen's guards said. "The palace is no longer secure." "No," Queen Vayana said firmly. "We will not run from this challenge. If Thexor wants a war, we will give him one." "Your Majesty," Taman said, "maybe there's another way to handle this." "What do you suggest? Let me talk to him. Maybe I can convince him that humans aren't the threat he thinks we are." "Thexor will never listen to you," Kalen said. "He sees you as the source of all these problems." "Then maybe I should remove myself from the equation," Taman said quietly. Everyone stared at him. "What do you mean?" the Queen asked. "I could return to Earth, remove the reason for this conflict." "Absolutely not," Kalen said immediately. "Running away won't solve anything. Thexor's real problem isn't with you personally. It's with the idea of change itself. Then what do you suggest?" Kalen looked at her mother, then at Taman. "We fight. But we fight smart, using the qualities that made you successful in the trials." "Explain." "Thexor expects us to respond like traditional Valthrons, with careful planning and defensive strategies. But you've shown us that sometimes unexpected actions can achieve better results than careful plans." Over the next several hours, they developed a strategy that combined Valthran technology with human tactical thinking. Instead of trying to match Thexor's military strength directly, they would use mobility and surprise to disrupt his plans. Taman found himself in the strange position of helping to plan military operations on an alien world. His experience in Earth's military proved valuable, as he could suggest approaches that Velthrans wouldn't naturally consider. The turning point came when they managed to capture one of Thexor's key communication centers. Instead of destroying it, Taman suggested they use it to broadcast a message to all Velthran forces. "General Thexor," Taman said into the communication device, knowing his words would reach military units across the planet. "I know you see me as a threat to your way of life, but I'm not here to destroy Velthran culture. I'm here to help it grow." "You lie, alien," came Thexor's reply. "Your presence corrupts everything it touches. Then judge me by my actions, not my species. I risked my life to save Princess Kalen. I passed your trials honestly. I've fought beside your people to defend what they believe in. What more proof do you need that humans can be trusted allies?" There was a long pause before Thexor responded. "Words are meaningless. Only blood proves loyalty." "Then let's settle this with blood," Taman said, surprising everyone in the room. "Single combat between you and me. If I win, you accept the alliance between our peoples. If you win, I return to Earth and never come back." "Taman." "No," Kalen whispered, but he held up a hand to stop her. "Do you accept, General?" he asked. Another long pause. "I accept. But when I defeat you, all humans will be banned from Velthran space forever." "Agreed." The combat took place the next day in the same arena where Taman had faced the Kithra beast during his trials. Thousands of Velthrans gathered to watch, and the event was broadcast across the Empire. General Thexor was a skilled warrior with decades of combat experience. He was also larger and stronger than Taman, but the human had advantages that the general didn't expect. Instead of trying to match Thexor's strength, Taman used speed and unpredictability. He fought like a human, not like a Valthran, using tactics that his opponent couldn't anticipate. The battle was long and brutal, but finally Taman managed to pin Thexor to the ground with a move he had learned in military training. "Do you yield?" Taman asked, breathing heavily. Thexor looked up at him with something like respect in his eyes. "I yield. You fight with honor,